Hey, Brittany, what's the Facebook live link? Is it just going to be on the Young Black and in Business Facebook page? I can't hear you. You mute. Hey, Brittany, what's the
Okay, so we are live on YouTube. I've officially posted the link on the YBNB Facebook page. I'm also going to post it in the chat so everyone has access to it. And this is where we're going live, so please feel free to share this link.
Brittany, can you, Lachey needs to get in. Can you send her?
Yeah, which email address should I send it to? I sent it to San Diego at Gmail. Is there another one?
She said you can send the direct link to where she can get in when she don't have to register.
She received a direct link as a panelist from Zoom. When I send it to her, it's going to make her register.
Oh, okay. So you got to register.
Yeah. If I send it to her, if she hasn't received it, has she checked her spam?
She got it, but she says she's in listen only mode.
Okay, let me see if I can find her. It says she's participants. Okay, I'm gonna upgrade her to a panelist. Okay, she's gonna be logged back in. Okay. Oh, she's in. Roosevelt's in.
All right, all right. All right, great job, Brittany.
Thank you.
Great job, everyone. Everyone, great job. We all here. So look, we're live. If you don't know, now you know. So with no further more, this is like the red carpet event. So I first just want to take this time to acknowledge some legendary individuals that transitioned yesterday. We would like to send our love and our condolences to the Little Richard and Andre Harrell families. For those that may not know, Little Richard, was a founding father of rock who broke numerous musical barriers. And the legendary Andre Harrell, he passed away due to a heart attack. So we send our love and condolences to the family. And he started many careers like Mary J. Blige, P. Diddy, and Jodeci. So, that was a big loss for the culture. So again, we want to just, start off by acknowledging their greatness and send our love and condolences to the family. So look, we got some folks on this call. It's going to be a great one.
It's still a little bit early. We've got 10 minutes until the official start time. People are going to be hopping on the line up until then. We've got a full panel of media, full Black resource panel. So I'm actually really, really excited. I feel like this is a special moment.
Absolutely. And I want everybody to stay tuned because we have questions on education, mental health, nonprofit, business, community, small business, and questions from you. So feel free to chat in the comment box and maybe your question will get heard on this live. DJ Doc, hello, sir.
Morning to you. It's good to see you.
Thank you very much for joining with us.
What kind of shirt you got there, Melvin?
It's a foundational Black American shirt. You know, had some of our legendary people: Ida B. Wells, Francis Cress Wilson, Harriet Tubman.
Okay, I see you, man. Always good to see you.
Oh, oh my God.
Absolutely. So for folks that's tuning in, you know, this is the red carpet segment. You know, we're going to get started in about 8 minutes or so, but you don't want to miss this informative panel. We got our own media that's going to ask questions from Dr. Cheryl Morrow, San Diego News. We got Rock Media featuring DJ Doc and Lady Rock, also known as Thomas and Lori Howard. We got Brian Gooden from GrooveYouTube.com. We got brother Melvin Graham. He's a filmmaker and journalist, and he has his own Black Power empowerment platform. You don't want to miss that. And we got also Curtis McNeil from San Diego People Magazine. That's part of the media that's going to ask the panelists questions. And we have an eclectic panel that you don't want to miss out on. We got Spachelle Rutledge from Breaking Down Barriers on like mental health. We got Lachey Collins, District Director for California State Representative. She's our education guru. We're also going to have the 4th District Councilwoman that'll be joining at any moment, the People's Councilwoman, Monica Montgomery. We got Marquise Jackson. I believe he's also on the line as well. We got community pillars. We got Armand King from Paving Great Futures. We got Reginald Jones from the Jacobs Center. And we got our dear brother, Matthew Arthur Gordon, political activist, mentor, and a California government official. And we got we're looking forward to having our distinguished guest, Assembly Member Todd Gloria, on the call as well. So stay tuned, get excited, and at 12 noon, we getting the party started with informative dialogue.
That's a nice quarantine beard you got there, Mr. Jackson.
Appreciate it. I started growing it, I think 2 years ago. So it's good that it's holding up during the quarantine.
Okay. You already had the head start.
Yeah, Marquise, I was going to grow as you have, but I started seeing too much gray, okay?
There's nothing more than experience. Don't take it away.
Right.
Reginald got plenty of it too. He all across everywhere.
And also want to just give a plug out to the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Democratic Club and its Black Resource Panel. So, you know, it's definitely a team effort. And I want to just encourage everyone to share, go to their Facebook pages and share this live, if you may, just so we could have maximum exposure. You can go to our business page that's in the link. If you type in at ybandmb.com, you'll be able to share the link. Or you can go to our personal page, YBMB, and share the page so we can have maximum exposure.
You set us up on the page right now?
Yes, sir. It's
Is
up
your-
and live.
It's
Yes.
live on Facebook.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, we're all the way live. All the way
Yes.
live. We're all the way live. So look, if you just turned it on, because we are live right now, this is the red carpet. We got a whole host of community leaders, community business advocates, and educational pillars. We have things that's going to range from education, mental health, state issues, nonprofit and community concerns. and get excited. We're looking forward to have Todd Gloria on the call, Monica Montgomery on the call, Armand King on the call, Reginald Jones on the call, Marquise Jackson on the call, Michelle Rutledge on the call. So yes, we have an eclectic group for you.
Nice. I do see the YouTube link, but I don't see the Facebook link.
Okay. So if you go to the business page, it will, the live has been posted on the business page. You can just click on that link. And we are live on YouTube right now. So welcome to everyone who's just joining. It's getting packed. It's getting packed in here.
Yeah, I see we have our people's champion, Monica Montgomery's on the call with us.
She'll be on in a little bit.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, we got the People's Council member, so that's a great deal. We want to give a shout out to all of the media, Rock Media, DJ Doc and Lady Rock. Blessings.
Yes.
Want to give a shout out to Melvin Graham, filmmaker and journalist, Black Empowerment Platform. Salute to Brother Matthew Arthur Gordon, political activist, mentor, California government official. Reginald Jones, Jacob Center for Neighborhood Innovation, President and CEO. Marquise Jackson, Small Business Development Corporation, Small Business Concerns and Resources. Get your questions ready. His brother's very dynamic in a lot of fields. Lachey Collins on education. She'll be joining us if she's not already on the call. That's our education guru for today. Get your education questions ready, like where to get laptops, what could we be doing for our young adults during this time. And I also want to give a shout out, to the team, Brittany Miller doing a phenomenal job.
Hi.
Absolutely. So look, we got 2 minutes. So and before we jump into the conversation, so I just want to do a roll call. Brittany, if you could just let us know who's all entered the call.
Okay, so one thing I can say, a few people are very popular. I saw a few Matthew Gordons. So I see a few Monica Montgomerys. So, we've got some really popular people on the panel right now. So I don't know exactly how we want to do the roll call. How about, since we've actually partnered with Matthew, would you like to, help us out with who else is on the call?
All right, so look, Brother Gordon.
Okay, what up? I'm here.
Will the real Matthew Gordon please stand up?
I am present and accounted for.
Wonderful. And I see we have our dignitaries on the line. Big shout out to Todd Gloria. So look, I'm gonna just go right on ahead and get into it. But before I do, I just want to have Brother Matthew Gordon kind of give us a mission and a vision of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Democratic Club.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Williams. First and foremost, thank you, Brittany Miller, the folks at Young Black in Business for helping to organize this important webinar. To those of you who do not know me, my name is Matthew Gordon. I'm the current vice president of the Martin Luther King Jr. Democratic Club. We are more than just a Democratic club. We exist to serve our community, provide resources and the necessary information, such as this webinar, to help us. And what do I mean when I say us? I mean Black people. Officially, the MLK Democratic Club is dedicated to the advancement of civil rights, community improvement, community opportunities, and affirmative action. The club's goal is to make a difference in our community and San Diego County. So welcome everyone. Shout out to the panelists who are here with us today. Thank you for taking time out today to join us, and looking forward to this webinar.
Okay, outstanding. And just let everybody know about Brother Matthew Gordon. He's a political activist and a mentor and a California government official. So look, with no further more, I'm excited
to say that.
Yes, it's 12:01. I want to salute everybody that attended the red carpet event. So we'll dive right into it. I'm going to start off with introductions from our Young Black in Business Media, because everybody has their title and what they're representing. So I just want to just give a shout out to everyone. But with no further more, ladies first, I want to give out to Cheryl Morrow. She's on the panel as a media participant. She's going to ask questions. She's representing the San Diego Monitor News. I also want to take this time to shout out another media outlet that we have. We have Rock Media. Rock stands for Revive Our Culture. So we have DJ Doc and Lady Rock, also known as Thomas and Lori Howard, on the call that's going to ask questions to the panel. We also have Brian Gooden. He's on the call. He's representing GroovingU.com radio. He's a radio host and a freelance photographer and journalist. So we also have brother Melvin Graham. He's a filmmaker and journalist on the call. He has a Black Empowerment platform. And we also have individuals from San Diego Magazine as well, Curtis McNeil, that's going to ask questions to the panelists. So look, now I want to introduce you to the panelists, everybody that's tuned in, because we have a great group of individuals that have a great amount of wisdom and understanding during this COVID-19 crisis, and how we can be healthy, happy, and successful post-COVID-19. So look, I'd like to introduce Michelle Rutledge. She's from Breaking Down Barriers. She's our specialist on mental health, and because she's a mental health coordinator. She's also a former corporal in the United States Marine Corps. That's right here in our community. Salute, Michelle. Lachey Collins. Lachey Collins, she's on our she's going to be our education guru on this call. She's also a district director for a California State Assembly representative. Lachey Collins is a she does some teaching at State, and that's also where she received her bachelor's and a master's degree in education from San Diego State University. So big shout out. We also have the People's Council member, Monica Montgomery. She serves on several committees. That's why we had to have her here, and it's a great honor. She's the chair of a committee on public safety, livable neighborhoods. She also serves on the committee on budget, and she helps the government run efficiently because she's also on the rules committee. Marquise Jackson, this dynamic gentleman, he's going to pretty much talk to us about how we can work on our business acumen. He's a small business development corporation. He's a bailiwick on business concerns and resources. So if you want to tap into some business concerns and resources, those will be the questions directed to Marquise Jackson. He's the regional director for San Diego and Imperial Small Businesses. So that's major. He's the Imperial director. He's the regional director for San Diego and Imperial Small Businesses. That's huge. He's an experienced leader and a demonstrated history of working in higher education, community building, and business development. Armand King, for you all know, he's the chief operating officer at Paving Great Futures. Armand King, he's fueled by his experiences growing up in the streets, and he also co-founded Paving Great Futures. We also have Reginald Jones. He's the CEO and president of the Jacobs Family Foundation and the Jacobs Center for Neighborhood Innovation. He's highly experienced, and he's an he's an executive level professional. Okay, so the Jacobs Center, as you know, is on Market and Euclid, right in the heart of our community. So he can be instrumental in answering your questions. And we also have Matthew Gordon, big salute. You heard him earlier, political activist, mentor, and government official. Matthew Gordon has a wealth of experience working for the disadvantaged communities throughout San Diego County. And just a little bit about Matthew also, he's currently serves for the California 78th Assembly member, Mr. Todd Glory, that's on the phone as well as an advisor. He's part of the Todd Squad. So, salute Brother Gordon. And with no further more, it's an honor to have Todd Gloria, California State Assembly member, on this call. That's huge. That's huge, everybody. So let's make sure that we just dive into that. Todd Gloria, he's known as one of the most accessible elected officials. Very relatable, very approachable right here in San Diego. Todd remains in close contact with neighbors throughout his district. That's why he's here. And he gives credit to the many San Diegans for keeping him focused on the issues that make their communities important. So Todd Gloria, thank you very much for joining us. It's 12:06, approximately 12:06. So we're gonna go into a first question. We're gonna dive right into a question from DJ Doc of Rock Enterprises and Rock Media. DJ Doc, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I hear you loud and clear.
So look, just to let everybody on the call know the order of operations. The panelists has 30 seconds to convey their message, to present their point to a person on the panelists. The panelists, that we have, you will have 2 minutes approximately, if you choose to respond to the question. Once you hear this bell, you have 10 seconds to conclude your question or your comment. So DJ Doc, you have the first question, sir.
All right. This is for our education question. How can we as a community address the challenges of school K through 12 distance learning during this pandemic?
All right, so you're asking how can we address it?
Right.
Well, it's going to be a very difficult task to try to move forward to address it, as we now see that COVID-19 is showing us some systematic racism and some structural oppressions that is there pertaining to our communities. We've known for a long time that education has been completely disproportionately set up to, of course, target Black and Brown students. And so in order for us to move forward in this particular type of pandemic, we're going to have to make sure that we do what we can to, one, address what distance learning really is, which is not homeschooling. We need to do everything for which we can to ensure that teachers are actually teaching online, but we have to make sure resources are coming to everyone's home, as far as having hotspots, laptops, or whichever, people can understand how those things work. But also, we really have to address the issue of equity within itself. Equity and also just having access. So until we can get the answers to those particular questions, it's going to be different. Right now, we see that our African American students, really all students, are basically losing about 6 to 10 weeks of school right now. Things are very optional for them at this point as grading is taking place. And so there needs to be some more work and discussion. I got you, Brother.
Thank you.
Oh, and I also want to say thank you very much, Lachey. At the hour mark, we're going to have a 2-minute period to be able to give the panelists 2 minutes to elaborate on their question. So if you didn't get to complete your question during the dialogue, we're going to give you 2 minutes for closing comments. Okay. So look forward to that. But thank you very much. That was very informative. We got to know where the hotspots are and how to get those resources. So for our next question, I want to have Brother Melvin Graham. Melvin Graham.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Roosevelt. I actually have a question for Assembly Member Todd Gloria. Now, we know with the COVID-19, we know that Black people in America are disproportionately affected by COVID-19. And I know you're on a platform where we're talking about resources for Black people. And by you being a member of the Latino community, and also will make you also a minority, and also like me, a minority as well. And also another term that we use, people of color. As a member of the Democratic Party and as a person with political power, what exactly are you prepared to do to help Black people have more resources?
Well, we're trying to do a fair amount. And, first off, is just simply acknowledging this matter. Some of you may know that I wrote legislation that actually requires disclosure of the statistics that we're seeing that are uncovering this disparity. We wrote that law and it's now in place. This is why you see a difference in the data that's coming out now as compared to in 2017 when we had the hepatitis A outbreak. Knowledge is power. And so that data is being provided and the data is pretty damning, right? It's pretty obvious that this has disproportionate impacts for historical reasons and for the very fact that many of our people are essential workers and don't have the choice to be able to stay home. What is the state doing about it? Well, we're starting to mine that data to figure out where we can do stuff. And I'm aware of a drive-through testing facility on Euclid as we speak that's happening in the 4th Council District. That's an expression of our desire to try and drive resources into those geographic communities and demographic communities where we know there's a desperate impact. I think where this conversation and where the club should be focused is on the recovery period, because just as much as we have been disproportionately impacted by the disease or virus, we're going to be disproportionately impacted in the recovery. And you see this already in the unemployment rates in these communities. As we look at federal and state stimulus efforts, making sure to drive those dollars in those communities that paid the highest price, that's where my focus and attention is right now. And those are still plans that are being developed as we speak. So it's better to be on the front of this conversation rather than the back of this conversation. And I appreciate being able to be here today to share that with you all and to take in your input on what we can do at the state level to make sure those dollars are reaching the 4th Council District and the other places where we see hotspots of positive tests and of mortality.
Yes, sir.
Roosevelt, you're on mute, my friend.
Yeah, mute, Brother Roosevelt. On mute.
That's the first time in my life I couldn't hear Roosevelt Williams III. Otherwise, I can hear him a mile away.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Can you hear me now? Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for the salute. A good question, good answer. So at this time, I want to go to Dr. Cheryl Morrow from the San Diego Monitor newspaper. Dr. Cheryl. All right, Dr. Cheryl Morrow from the San Diego Monitor newspaper. Okay, so look, I want to ask a question to Spachelle Rutledge.
Can you hear me?
Oh yes. Okay. Rochelle, Spachelle, after Dr. Morrow, I have a question for you. So Dr. Morrow, please have time to answer a question.
Yeah, can everyone hear me? Does everyone hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just want to thank our councilwoman, Monica Montgomery. It's good to see you. And of course, obviously, Assembly Member, Mr. Gloria, thank you for taking the time to come on the call. And of course, good morning and happy Saturday to everyone. What I wanted to know is, and this is a question to both council person Monica Montgomery and Todd Gloria, is there any way that we can get better information based on, I guess, the governor's 14 no deaths, and we can open up the whole economy? Is there any way that we can make that more clear to the public about in terms of we having a lot more cases of people who have recovered, and how can we better make that clear to the public on why 14 and what does that mean to the public? Anyone can answer that particular question.
This is council member. I don't want to get ahead of you, Monica. Thank you. So Cheryl, I hear what you're saying, and actually I share that frustration. The governor on Monday indicated that we've been moving to stage 2 this Friday or yesterday, right? And then on Thursday shared, I think it was Thursday, it could have been a day before, but started putting out those guidelines that you were talking about that have a lot of folks concerned. The 14 days is established by science. What we know is that when someone is infected, they may be asymptomatic or not showing that they're sick for as many as 14 days. And that's the period where they can be super infectious without knowing it. And so that 14-day period is really driven by that. I think your concern, and a lot of concerns I'm hearing from folks, is that having 14 days with no COVID-19 deaths is a seemingly insurmountable hill to climb in order to reopen the economy faster. What I would say is that there's always the potential of modifying that order. And that order is about proceeding before the state. So what the governor has said is that we are now in stage 2, and stage 2 is actually kind of divided into a 2A and a 2B. Difference being like 2B could include sit-down restaurants reopening. Stage 3 is when we can get our haircut again, and I cannot wait for that day. But the guideline is to say that for communities that hit those marks, they could go before the state does, right? So the whole state was in stage 1. We're now all in stage 2, but individual communities could go to 2B or to 3 if they can meet those hallmarks, which is to say that they can go sooner, but it may be that the state moves to stage 3 in a relatively short amount of time, and that would be unnecessary. But I think we're already hearing a lot of pushback on that metric. I'm sorry, that's all the time, isn't it? Sorry. Suffice to say, that's about going earlier. I would stay tuned on whether or not there's a modification or if there's a desire for the state to move to stage 3 on its own.
Thank you. And we want to also Councilwoman Montgomery, did you want to chime in or have anything you want to share?
Yes, hello everyone, and I'll just be quick and just kind of try to provide additional perspective in that I think that we are here in San Diego and in California in general, the COVID-19 impact has been severe, especially on communities of color. But it has not been as severe as it could have been. And so we are kind of operating in a space where we're feeling like we've done the right thing. It's time to move forward, but we have to be reminded that we could have even more catastrophic outcomes from this. So we do have to be very careful. It can provide a little bit of frustration. But I think because we have not seen some of the impacts that, say, New York and New Jersey have seen, that we haven't felt it that way. I have one of my best friends. It works in an ICU in the COVID hospital in her town in New Jersey. And so I talk to her often, and she tells me about the things that are happening a lot of times ahead of what the news tells us. And so that I try to keep that in mind and feeling very grateful that we have been here and the governor has kind of stepped up and put those guidelines out before many others did. But on the back end, it's kind of like you get punished for that because we're not feeling what could be the impact. So that is the context in which I tried to work in. But also we can't, we are going to have to move forward. And so providing those steps so that we can do that in very careful ways is important as well. It is, because we're not, I don't think that we're going to be able to keep people just kind of inside of their homes for even the rest of the year, so it's just, we have to be careful about how we do this, but also keeping in mind that we could have been facing even further dire consequences than we are now.
Thank you. And we're gonna, we'll have some more questions very much, but thank you. We want to thank you, Councilwoman, for joining us as well. I want to get Marquise Jackson involved, but before we do, I want to ask a mental health question for Spachelle Rutledge that we received in our comment box. Spachelle, the COVID-19 pandemic has caused a high amount of stress and anxiety and depression, particularly in the African-American community. What advice or tips can you provide that will help ease the hearts and minds of our community? Spachelle.
Thank you for that question, Roosevelt. Yes, I definitely want to uplift the fact that anxiety is something that is increased and has been further exacerbated, especially just from even the beginning of the shelter in place, getting mixed messaging, and then a lot of our loved ones have been directly affected by COVID-19. I can directly relate. My uncle passed a few months ago from it, and so even I've had to take on a lot of the tips of which I advise other people within my program. And so one thing that, or a few things which I always recommend doing is truly tapping into the faith of which you have. So for example, our faith sustains us. It has. So we know that there's a lot of intergenerational trauma from and a lot of things that are happening currently that are out of our control. But one thing that is consistent is the fact that we also have like intergenerational resilience. And so even though we're not able to convene together in our churches, and we're not able to convene together in, various monthly gatherings, like, for example, sororities, fraternities, what we're doing right now, embracing the time that we're able to convene and come together as a community, and really focusing in on the fact that even despite what we're seeing with COVID-19 and all the disparities, the discrimination, and a lot of the racism that's coming up, we are still thriving, right? And so something that a practice that I advise others, and that even works for myself, is meditation, prayer, but meditation is super vital. It really helps. If you are to put into practice types of meditation where you just sit, you breathe, you don't think about the things that are out of our control, and only think about what's in our control. I'm sorry, I can go on. I'm so passionate about this, but truly, I'll wrap up at the end, but that's just a few things.
Okay, for sure. And just a reminder that we'll have that 2 minutes to conclude at the end of the program, so you can add on any tips or trades or resources that you may want to share. I also want to get our media, so let's begin to ask some questions regarding business post COVID-19. Just to share with you, young is a state of mind, and the color Black encompasses and absorbs all of the colors in the spectrum. And the definition of business is the value of trade. So I like to say we're all Young Black in the Business. And Young Black in the Business is an organization dedicated to serving emerging entrepreneurs to be profitable, sustainable, healthy, and happy. So I want to challenge the media to ask a question regarding businesses and how we can thrive currently and post COVID-19. So I'd like to share that to DJ Doc and Lady Rock from Rock Media for a question that's business related.
So one of the questions I've got is, how are we able to help individuals that have a business already or would like to start one, but have low funds to do that, as well as to try and continue with their businesses if they have not been operating them?
So
Mr. Jackson.
I could definitely jump in on that. I'll take first the current businesses that exist. So I would encourage all people to reach out to your small business development center. You can do it through me, or I can facilitate that through any number of our locations. We have 80 people throughout San Diego and Imperial counties that will sit down with you one-on-one and coach you through some of these challenges, that businesses are dealing with. We're working directly with the city of San Diego and the county to develop, reopening plans and coach people through to help them set up safe practices, to help them build resiliency. Some of the things that we're working on is helping people manage their human resources, their cybersecurity presence now, since everybody's moving towards online, helping them develop other strategies and build other resiliencies around keeping their business going. So we have people who will sit down with you and lay out plans to help you execute on those plans. Now it's a little bit tougher right now for people who are early stage or trying to start a business, because there's the resources, the relief resources right now are dedicated more at existing businesses and trying to keep those businesses going and their employees still on the payroll. I think when it comes to starting a new business, there's two kind of paths you can take. There's a lot of opportunity out there right now for people who are starting businesses that could take advantage of COVID related stuff. Like, I'll give you an example. As restaurants start to come back online and people are sitting down, menus are kind of out of the window now. You're not going to be able to pass menus back and forth, but there is the ability to create technologies where people could do digital menus, or they could utilize services through their cell phone to interact with businesses. So I think there's plenty of opportunities there, but there is some early stage resources out here from organizations like Axion and CDC Small Business Finance that have been out there before COVID that people can use to get their business started. And if you come to us, we offer free service, and we can sit down with you one-on-one and kind of coach you through all of that process.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
that was outstanding. That's outstanding. I would like to have a Dr. Cheryl Morrow, to from San Diego Monitor newspaper. Could we speak about a community? For example, how is the Jacob Center assisting, serving, and providing resources? Dr. Cheryl Morrow, because we have.
I'm going to redirect my. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to redirect my question to Assembly Member Todd Gloria once again. And I am dealing with the gig bill, the AB5. And of course, it was especially hit in the digital logistic industry. And so now that we are challenged with the social distancing issue, and I want to know that how will you legislate at this point in support of digital-based businesses in terms of the AB5 gig law? And how would that evolve? Are you guys looking to evolve that particular issue? Because of course, now that we are now having to transfer into businesses, and of course, those things, the rollout will probably look different now. And we are, just like the gentleman just said, we are going to have to go to more digital factors. So just how would legislation in terms of the gig law and the gig bills and dealing with restructuring financially people's status?
Sure. And I want to maybe reset that, because AB5 certainly does impact gig workers like Uber and Lyft drivers, but it's really about misclassification workers, more broadly speaking. And AB5 is going to be modified this year. Its author, our own Lorena Gonzalez, has two pieces of pending legislation, and you'll want to write this down: AB 1850 and AB 2257. Those are both pending in the legislature now. Both of them feature modifications to the existing AB5 law that was signed in and went into effect on January 1. But sure, I think in the context of COVID-19, AB5 is about making sure that more workers are not misclassified for benefits. I think this is particularly acute right now, where, as you may know, the self-employed and independent contractors do not qualify for unemployment assistance. And to the extent that more than, I think, about 500,000 now have applied for unemployment assistance, it shows you the scope of the number of people who are in need, who are not capable of being serviced by traditional unemployment benefits. Now, the federal government has created an unemployment benefit for gig workers, but suffice to say, there are real challenges around this. So I want to recraft that to be less about tech workers, because there's plenty of tech workers that can continue to operate as independent contractors or as sole proprietors or LLCs. Again, going back to that starting your own business piece. But if you are working and you can't pass the 3-point test for independent status, then you must be classified as an employee. And by being classified as an employee, you get things like Social Security, unemployment, disability, workman's comp, all things that right now I think are pretty critical when dealing with this public health pandemic. And many workers are finding themselves without those benefits.
But doesn't that put stress on the employer?
Well, it can, but I would argue that by allowing those employers to not pay into these systems that we've all agreed to as a society are beneficial. I mean, who here is not in favor of Social Security? Please raise your hand. Who doesn't see the inherent value of unemployment benefits? I think we all do. And to the extent that by misclassifying workers, not all workers, some people are genuine, not independent contractors, some have their own business, and AB5 has a business-to-business exemption. But to the extent that those employers are not paying into those systems and it leaves the workers without those benefits, I think that was the reason why, first off, the state Supreme Court said you can't do that, and why the legislature affirmed much of that through AB5. But we do know that there are fixes that are necessary, and that's why those two additional bills are being run, and you'll see them progress through the legislative process now. One of them is being done with urgency, meaning to say that we could pass it quickly and it could become law soon. And then another one's probably going to go through the normal legislative process, which is to say it would take effect in the new year.
Yeah, the African-American community has had some issues with this particular legislation, and I'm sure you are aware of that.
Yeah, I know it's certainly within the publishing world. Newspaper carriers have a temporary exemption in under AB5. That was negotiated with that industry. There are freelance journalists that are a part of these additional follow-on bills that I think may be impactful to reporters like yourself. This feedback is being received by the legislature, and we're working on it. And so I would say, look at those two bills I just quoted to you, share feedback on those, that'd be helpful. And stay tuned. But I think that right now with 26% unemployment in San Diego County, you recognize the importance of some of these social benefits that, again, by being misclassified, you may not have any legal entitlement to. And frankly, because they're not paying into it, we don't all benefit, right? We all pay Social Security taxes now with the expectation that we'll get it when we're senior citizens. What happens if it's not there? And what happens when people quit paying into it? The system becomes insolvent. We had to go to the federal administration just this week to ask for additional money to fund our unemployment program because it's currently overtaxed by the number of people seeking assistance, but not having enough resources to necessarily pay out the benefits right now. And that's a loan that we're gonna have to pay back eventually.
And that's wonderful. Thank you for your leadership, Assemblymember Todd Gloria. This goes into our next segment that we have because we're halfway through at this point. So now we would like to discuss what is the plan of action post COVID-19. And we want to be able to give our listeners, our viewers, solutions. So we know what the issue is, but what is our plan of action for post COVID-19? So Mr. Reginald Jones, I'd like to give you the opportunity, sir, to be able to address the audience and the panelists, President and CEO of the Jacobs Center's Family Foundation and Jacobs Center for Neighborhood Innovation. Can you please give us your plan of action on how you can service and bring resources post COVID-19 in your position, sir?
Certainly, Roosevelt, and thank you for having me a part of this panel today. It's really a pleasure being on with such an august group of participants and listeners as well. I am very concerned certainly about the nonprofit sector. Certainly the nonprofit sector pre-COVID-19 has been very fragile. I think during this period, nonprofits are being stretched in an incredible way to meet basic human needs. That would include certainly health services. It would include human needs around food insecurity, as well as other means of really keeping the community strong during this time. But I like what was said earlier. We can think about the time that we're in now, but we have to be proactive in our thinking. How do we come out of COVID-19? Nonprofits are big business in San Diego. There are more than 10,000 nonprofits in San Diego County. And beyond the majors, I think we have to really be concerned about the nonprofits that are in our communities, the indigenous nonprofits in our communities that's providing basic human needs. These nonprofits are very fragile, their budgets are very limited, and how will they survive post-COVID? I think we're going to certainly see a thinning of the nonprofit sector. What does that mean? I think nonprofits are going to have to think together how we come together to form a more collective impact approach to our work and consequently have better impact. Certainly that's the way that I'm thinking at the Jacobs Center. How do we move beyond ourselves to be more support in the community and leverage our resources to bring nonprofits to the table in a collective way? I mean, I think at the same time, we've seen a lot of emphasis and, certainly work Marquise has been doing in strengthening small businesses. We've had funds from the federal level, we've had funds on the state level, the county level, and the local level that address small business needs, including resources, monetary resources to those entities. But what we haven't seen is a strategy to keep nonprofits strong and to keep them strong in this period and as we come out of COVID-19, because as Ms. Rutledge said earlier, there are going to be needs to address mental health. There's going to be needs to address basic health services. There's going to be a need to address basic human services in an incredible way. And also, nonprofits are a big economic engine. We don't think about them as business, but there are many people employed in our nonprofits. And as these nonprofits begin to thin, that's further job loss. And I've just been disappointed, quite frankly, that there hasn't been a response to the nonprofit community in the same way and organizations that there has been to the business community. All of this essentially is going to fall back on nonprofits to keep our communities strong, the members of those communities strong, and to really provide basic services that are going to be critical coming out of this condition. We must look at how we can form collective impacts as nonprofits, and we must look at a whole advocacy program as well now to be strong and have resource support coming out of COVID-19.
That was well said. Before I let Melvin Graham ask a question, I'd like to see if Councilwoman Montgomery would like to add on to that.
Yes, for sure. First of all, I just want to very quickly thank the Jacobs Center and in partnership with the San Diego Foundation for putting a fund together with sort of the brainchild of Layla Aziz in our community called the Southeastern San Diego Rapid Response Fund for nonprofits in our community that are doing work for the most vulnerable folks who have been impacted by COVID-19. And so with that, we at the city of San Diego are facing severe deficits. We, though, have received money from the federal government in the amount of $248 million, the CARES Act funding. And council members have had to submit memos based on what their priorities should be. I did list funding for nonprofits in that, because I agree with Mr. Jones that especially in our communities that are most impacted by this, we have so many folks that serve our communities that are being left by the wayside right now. So it is very, very important. But it also is important to couple that money with a strategy, with technical assistance to build capacity. We do have, even in these times, an opportunity to kind of rebuild on that level and not just throw money at folks that has no return or no impact, but that really we can look and see and measure it. We've served thousands of people just through that fund alone, but we're able to track that and measure it. And that is very important, that we come out of this even stronger than we came into it. It's not easy. We were on a rocky foundation to begin with. Funding is disproportionate before COVID-19. So we know that, but we now can look at that and try to change within the system to get the money to the people who do the most work.
Wonderful. And again, we want to, thank you both for your leadership. Thank you. So Brother Melvin Graham.
Yes, sir. All right.
Okay. This is your time for another question, sir, to our panelists.
All right. For the panel and also in particular, Assembly Member Todd Gloria and City Councilwoman Monica Montgomery. Now, according to NBC, when it comes to the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Plan, Black people are disproportionately affected at a 95% rate. When it comes to our communities, we don't have the funding. So on the state level and even more of a sub-local level, what is it that we can do to have more funding coming to our communities to protect our businesses? Like me, I live currently right now, and I live in Los Angeles. We here in the Crenshaw area, we lost the Crenshaw Mall because there wasn't any funding, you know what I mean, to keep that open, to keep that in our community, to keep that a Black-owned empire, because that was a structure that provided shall I say, a platform to give Black businesses a space to earn money and also provide for the community. What can we do on the state and sub-local level to bring funding for Black businesses, because our communities are decimated, shall I say, economically more so than most, because we don't have, shall I say, the economic resource coming in from government at all.
Monica, could you go first? Go.
Yeah, yes, I will. So thank you so much for the question. As I just mentioned,
Yes, ma'am.
memo and the CARES Act funding. I also, a small business relief fund was a part of that memo. What I'm requesting that San Diego spend some of that CARES Act funding for, but the devil is sort of in the details. So when we look at PPE, first of all, we know that it was structured for more so for Wall Street. The second round of funding was a little bit better, but the first round was abysmal. We know that, but the qualifications, sometimes the way that our businesses and our communities are structured, it may be a business of one. It may be a home-based business. There are all kinds of different businesses that should qualify for that funding, but based on the previous qualifications did not. So it really is, we do have to be focused on the types of businesses that we want to award and insert that into the policy. That's really what is important here. We do have, Axion was mentioned previously. We have these community development financial institutions that do specialize in awarding our smaller businesses funding. And I do think we need to talk about, the disparity within the different racial groups as well. We, for so long, have been trained in California to stray away from that. We're bringing that back to the conversation and saying that we need this racial information. We need demographics that focus on how the different races are faring. We don't want to pit each other against one another, but we do need to know who is suffering and at what level, because that will tell us how our system is or is not working. And so all of those things are extremely important. So we're doing all we can to set up that small business relief fund and expand those qualifications.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Melvin, if I can follow on with what Councilmember Montgomery said, yes, you're identifying the truth, and what we know is that the first round of PPP funding basically bypassed communities of color. As Monica said, the secondary round was a little bit better, and I would point out that I think it's the advocacy of the Black Chamber of Commerce and others that helped to get a portion of the second tranche of funding for PPP to go to minority-owned banks and to require some threshold participation. It seemingly was a structural flaw that, as Monica was mentioning, the requirements and the eligibility standards really allowed that money to flow to things like Shake Shack and other stuff, rather than the neighborhood business that's on Imperial Avenue, been there a million years and needs a hand, right? To your question about what the state is doing about that, we anticipate there being additional federal relief bills, and we hope that those will focus on state and local governments. I'm personally advocating for what we can do around tenants and landlords. The rent challenges that we're going to have are national in scope, and there needs to be federal relief at that level. So as its subsequent efforts at the federal level persist, what we're looking at is doing our own state stimulus effort. Admittedly, our budget is in a bad place. We have a $50+ billion deficit at this point. But as we look at how we make strategic investments, our collective discussions of the legislature is to look for the gaps at what the federal government was not successful in helping. I'm thinking specifically about communities of color. I'm thinking about small cities that were prohibited from receiving CARES Act funding, and trying to take what limited funds we have to fill in the gaps and fill in the cracks that are there. And again, conversations like this one to identify where those are at, and so that we can, at least in the short term, advocate at the federal level. And if we're unsuccessful, try and do what we can at the state and local level, again, to fill in the cracks in what the federal government may or may not do.
Thank you, Senator. And before we go on to an educational question, I will also want to see if Marquise Jackson would like to chime into that. How can we, as a community, be a business defibrillator? Did you like to share, sir?
Yeah, I would definitely like to share, especially around the PPP point. One of the things that I've been seeing, the banks got to choose winners and losers. So I think there needs to be, when we look at funding like this, there needs to be conversation with some of the major institutions. And, I'll tell you guys the truth. I get a lot of funding from banks, but I ain't gonna lie. They're choosing these bigger businesses that are easier to qualify. And I've seen a lot of cases where, the small business, especially the minority-owned small business, won't even hear back from a bank because they're not a priority. So I think as we think through the future and how to get more funds out to our community, we have to have the conversations with the banks to hold them accountable to make sure that they really care about small businesses. And I would also encourage small businesses to remember, who took care of you in this time, so that once we get out of this, don't go back and deposit your money with some of these banks. Focus on those who serve your community, as opposed to, the bigger corporate banks that didn't really care about you. So, let's remember this and then take action as we recover to not put our money there and not count on them, because they don't care about, small businesses. They care about the bigger small. So that's, kind of the point there. But I will say, working through folks like SBDC, and there's other groups that exist out there too, we have community connections with other agencies that did have access to PPP money, but they don't have the budget to promote themselves. So, coming through us, we can help funnel you to organizations that are doing PPP.
Okay, outstanding. I hope everyone that's tuning in is taking copious notes. We have a few more moments in this segment before we transition. So I would like to DJ Doc of Rock Media and Lady Rock, Thomas Howard and Lori Howard. Do you have an educational question you want to share or propose to the panel?
Education, yeah, and I'm going to say this is almost like a follow-up question to what you were just talking about. Yeah, follow-up to education. One of the things I want to know is, how can we get some funding set aside so that we can actually do some education to our small businesses on how to actually run a business? One of the biggest problems I see is that they don't know how to run a business from the standpoint of everything from a business plan all the way to obtaining funding and so forth. I feel that there needs to be some education to those that are starting businesses, already have businesses, money set aside so that we can go ahead and get them trained up on that. Because I feel some of the disparage is coming in because they don't know how to obtain some of the funds. They don't know how to run the business for advertising and so forth. So of course, why would somebody back them? I feel that's a big problem. Where can we see about setting some funds aside for that?
So those funds exist already today. The federal government and the state government, which Assemblymember Todd Gloria has been a champion of, they currently fund the Small Business Development Center, the Women's Business Center, and some other groups that provide that TA. Before this whole COVID-19 situation, I would say the number one issue with that is we get federal funds and we're not allowed to market ourselves, and buy pieces that say, hey, come see us. So we depend on, our partners and other grassroots ways to get access. But, the Small Business Development Center and all of our partners, it's just not us. Reginald and his group has a really great work they're doing at the Connect All at the Jacobs Center. But it exists. I think we just have to point people our way. And then one other thing I'll say before my time runs out is the state invested in this technical assistance in a major way, and gave us 5 years worth of funding to do this. So I know it exists. We just got to get the word to the people.
That's right.
Just add on to what Marquise has said. Certainly, Marquise's organization is doing wonderful work, and we're certainly in conversations to invite them in to the Connect All Accelerator at the Jacobs Center so that they could actually have a host in the accelerator, catering more to small business, emerging business, and providing a resource center there in that regard. So I'm putting this out because I want Maurice to be more stimulated in thinking about making that entry.
Wonderful. The connectivity. At this time, I'd like to have Cheryl Morrow address the panel with a question, please.
Which is very interesting to me, and I have been a digital newspaper for the last 8 years. And so as being one of the oldest adjudicated papers in San Diego, how would, and this is a question, of course, once again, to my, in fact, actually, this is to a council member, Monica Montgomery. How can we move the city and the county forward with releasing that you must be adjudicated in conjunction with print? And now that the digital tsunami has hit, and so now how can we move and have more publications and be in official obtaining an adjudication being able to have profits from probates and fictitious business names. Can't we make a compromise in terms of being able to say you can only get adjudication if you are a print newspaper? Is there any room for moving that forward?
Yeah, you know, we have started, they're very premature, but we have started conversations like this with some of our city departments that are in this area. I think we did, you know, loop in the mayor's office to answer not exactly that question, but sort of moving really to digital overall as a city. That is definitely a part of it. We do have our requirements, required things that we have to do through print, and there is a quiet push to completely move that. So I can, you know, get with you on that point. We have been asking questions about that. We are still tied up in what we currently have to operate under, and there would have to be changes under that. But we have started that conversation, so I will follow up with you. In the county, okay. I don't know. Yes. The county is not on the line, so we can try to talk to you. Next time, get the county on the line.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Outstanding. So, as we transition to the last phase of the program, I would like to know if there's any questions as we conclude this segment from the panelists. Is there any questions from the panelists? DJ Doc, Brother Melvin, Cheryl Morrow?
Yeah. Yes, I've got one.
Yes, sir.
So I want to know what neighborhood services are affected as a result of COVID-19, and what can we do to ensure that vital services remain in our community? And this is for Monica, if you would.
Yes, sir. Oh gosh, we just had a whole week of budget review committee, and Assembly Member Gloria will know exactly what I'm talking about. But we go through each and every single city department line item, and we are, like I said before, facing hundreds of millions of dollars that we have to try to, that we have to cut services. What we have been focused on, I think, more than ever now as a council is making sure that neighborhood services are restored into the budget. So there are other things in the budget we don't feel are necessary. One is an allocation to the Smart Streetlight program. We don't think that that is necessary when you're cutting from our libraries, from our park and recreation, from our weed abatement, our graffiti abatement, our pothole repair, you know, the tree trimming. Those are the services. Those are our core services as a city that we really feel obligated to provide right now, especially in a time like this. I have, you know, honestly been looking at, when we're talking about enforcement, I'll just throw this in. You know, this has exposed how we actually enforce our laws in San Diego, our orders. We have public health orders, and they have been violated without any consequence. But we have people of color who have had to suffer based on their, if you call it disobedience or whatever, breaking of the orders or the rules. And so that is a very big problem. So yes, public safety has been very impacted because they had to do the education around enforcement of the public safety health orders and the state shelter in place orders. But at the same time, even in that, we have seen the disparity because everybody is not being treated the same. And so we're juggling with those things at the city. And advocacy is good. We have a meeting on Monday night. You can call in. We can get the information to whoever. I'll get it to Matthew. I'll put Matthew. I'll borrow Matthew for a minute and get the information to him because we have had to change the structure of council meetings. We are allowing folks to call in. You cannot come into the building right now, but advocacy for our core services, which are mostly needed in our communities. Our communities are facing the highest levels of unemployment out of all of the city of San Diego, and Canto is one of the top 5 on that list. So it's important that we at this time do not cut those essential services. So we'll get you the information to call in. That's how you can help.
Outstanding. So last opportunity. Cheryl Morrow, Brother Melvin, is there any last questions, concerns, or comments?
Just a comment. You guys are doing a great job. It's good to see all of you. I'm done.
I have a comment. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yeah, this is Brian Gooden. Hello to everyone. Sorry for the delay with me getting here. But my question is to Monica, and that is, what do we do to protect the small businesses in our community as a result of the aftermath of this? Because there are going to be some big sharks that are coming in that want to gobble up our community. So what do we do to protect that from happening?
Yeah, I think we did discuss this a little bit more, I think previous to, but I'll just say again that right now, capital has always been the biggest issue for us, and technical assistance and capacity, but also just getting money, having money to run a business. And that has been systemically hard for especially Black people to get loans, to get funding. So we were already coming in on a rocky foundation before COVID-19. So that is at the top of what we are trying to do. We have been collaborating with Black businesses in our community of all different sorts and across San Diego, because everybody Black doesn't live in District 4, right? And people that own businesses that are Black do not just live in District 4. So, we have to keep that in mind when we have this conversation. But I am committed to it. What I am trying to do from the council level is ensure that we put some of that CARES Act money that we receive from the federal government into a small business relief fund, and that the qualifications that it takes to apply and receive that funding does not block us out. That's what I'm doing. But on the back end of that, I think that I said it earlier, it should not be a free fall. In order for, I am not looking for something that we can take away from and not show any results. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for sustainability. If we have the opportunity to fund our businesses, then our businesses have to, and this is coming from someone who has two parents as business owners, we have to have our business plans in place. We have to have those types of things in place that will allow us to sustain if we can get the funding through this. But we know oftentimes we have all that and still can't get the funding. So I don't want, I don't want to discount that. A lot of people have their stuff together and still can't get the funding. On the other hand, if we have the funding, then the stuff needs to be together for us to be sustainable. So
that's right. And thank you. And thank you very much, Councilwoman Montgomery, for that. So now we're right on time. I want to thank everybody for their time and for being excellent. So now we're going to use the opportunity. Yes.
I wanted to add to that really quick. I just wanted to announce that Assemblymember Weber is hosting a small business webinar. It will be held Facebook Live on the 14th at 12 p.m. So you will have some additional opportunities to have a conversation with her as she wants to hear from our constituents and try to bring something else back to Assemblymember Gloria and everyone else up there about how we can move forward. So once again, that's on the 14th at 12 p.m. Facebook Live, but also you guys can chime in this way as well.
Okay, perfect. And that goes right to our next segment, which is our closing remarks. So this is a time that for our panelists, if there's any points that you want to make, give your elevator pitch, of course, and just give those closing remarks and any announcements. So we'll let Assemblyman Todd Gloria go first, please, with any closing remarks.
Roosevelt, thank you. Thanks for this opportunity. Thank you to Matthew Gordon from my team, who does an incredible job serving the communities of the 78th Assembly District. And I'm honored to get on that plane every week with Dr. Shirley Weber. You got a good workplace when you get to roll with Shirley Weber. So between her, and never forget, she's the chair of the Legislative Black Caucus, and they are doing a tremendous amount of work of advocating in the Capitol for the Black community as we deal with this situation. And just consider me, Robin, to her Batman to get stuff done on these issues. I just want to wrap up by saying, please go to the state's website on COVID-19. Everything is there and it's being updated on an hourly basis, really. It's covid19.ca.gov. Again, covid19.ca.gov, from small business assistance to unemployment assistance to distance learning to nutrition to testing data. All of that is there and it's updated regularly. And then I would just close by saying where the gaps are, I would like to know about those. I would like you to share them with Matthew or myself so that we can try and advocate. The legislature went back into session this past Monday. I'm going back up again on this coming Monday, and we're going to do the best work that we can under the most difficult of circumstances. The top priority is to protect public health and allow science and data to inform that decision making. The second part is the recovery. It's coming now, but we really want to plan for it because it rolls out further. And the last thing I want to say, because I learned it all from Michelle Rutledge, is that mental health is a critical part of this. And we have a stigma in the community about that particular issue, but I'm deeply concerned about the second order effects of this pandemic on mental health because it's something we don't talk about, but it's something that's deeply impacting our neighborhoods. And if we can focus some attention on that, I would appreciate it. That's my elevator pitch. And again, Roosevelt, thanks so much for moderating, for the opportunity. And thank you all for your time this afternoon.
Thank you, Assemblymember. Thank you. At this time, I would like Matthew Gordon. Any closing comments? Any announcements?
Nope, just thanking everybody for being on the webinar.
Absolutely, and great job, sir. And thank you for your leadership. Thank you. I'd like to ask Reginald Jones from the Jacob Center, CEO and President. Any announcements? Any closing remarks, sir?
I'd just like to, again, thank you for this opportunity to participate on the panel today and to be with this wonderful group of concerned citizens. Certainly, I want to applaud Assemblymember Weber for the work that she's doing in this time, Assemblymember Gloria, and certainly to District 4 Council Member Monica Montgomery. And it's just been wonderful getting to know her work and to understand her consciousness in keeping the community infrastructure strong. And that is human services and businesses as well. And we will continue to work together to make a difference in that regard, particularly coming out of this pandemic.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. Mr. Marquise Jackson, like to share anything, sir? Announcements, closing remarks?
Well, absolutely. I would encourage folks who are looking for business assistance to come see us at the Small Business Development Center. We're funded by your tax dollars, which means we essentially work for you. All of our services are at no cost to you. So you can get access to information by visiting our website, sdivsbdc.org, and you have a team of people there willing to help you. If there's ever any issues, you can reach out directly to me and I'll try to figure out how to get you some assistance. And the last thing I'll say is please, please, please keep advocating to your elected representatives. Councilmember Montgomery and Assemblymember Gloria will tell you, people come visit them and educate them on what's going on in their community, issues that they have. If they don't hear from you, they can't act, right? They don't know what challenges you're dealing with. So always encourage people, go see them, go talk to them, tell them the issues that you're having. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, they will respond and try to figure out how to voice what you can't voice.
Outstanding. Thank you. We'd like to go to the 4th District Councilwoman, Monica Montgomery. Any announcements, closing remarks?
Thank you, Roosevelt, so much. Thank you, Matthew. Everybody that organized this, thank you so much. I also just really, really want to thank our state officials, really, because we have had such a lapse in federal government leadership. Our state has really, really stepped up. Our governor, our assembly members, the state senate really, really just stepped up to try to do the best that they can possibly during this time. So I just want to sincerely thank you. I also want to, I always say this because I have to thank all the essential workers that have to go to work, that have to be right in the midst of this crisis, this public health crisis, and of this virus. So I just really want to say thank you to everyone. I believe, Mr. Jones, there's testing tomorrow that's to be held at the Jacob Center.
That's correct. The county is actually administering COVID-19 testing tomorrow at the Jacob Center.
Okay, and I believe we do have to call 211 and get an appointment, but you can get an appointment and you can go and get tested if you need to be tested. I want to let you all know that my office still has our emergency communications protocol in place. We will answer you within 24 hours. This is a very, very hard time, and it's more than us just announcing programs. We really have to walk folks through them. So we're trying to do that the best that we can. And last thing is, I want to piggyback off of Marquise and say, let's remember who did what during this time. Our dollars are very important. Where we put them, very, very important. I'm moving my dollars based on this PPP mess. I am. So I just want to say that this is so important. We do have that power at least because it belongs to the people. So thank you so much, everyone.
Absolutely, absolutely. The power is in the people. Miss Lachey Collins, if there's any you can announcements, closing remarks, please.
Sure. Thank you guys so much for having me participate on this panel. As you know, I got two hats, primarily Association of African American Educators, but also working with Assembly Member Dr. Shirley Weber. Just in regards to education, school is going to look extremely different when we go back. And so there's a lot of things for which we have to look out for. But I want parents to know and also understand that there's a lot of other programs and services that they could be utilizing right now. Some students are using Khan Academy. They are using Prodigy. They're going on Brain Pop. Schools are using Canvas, and they're also using Google Classrooms right now. Every school district is required to have office hours. Therefore, even so, parents, if you guys feel as if your kids are not communicating with their teachers, they are required to have office hours. So please be sure to reach out to them through that way. Counseling services are also available through the school sites. And so, and there's a schedule that's supposed to be sent out weekly in regards to what is taking place and deadlines for their education work to be submitted. We know that there's concerns about whether or not students' work is really going to be graded. And that's a concern also across the state on how we're going to do everything we can to focus on the achievement gap and the actual loss of learning. As a result of that, our state superintendent Thurman did develop an actual committee to address that, in which Dr. Weber is co-chair of. So just know that things will be different. We may have a hybrid component, but our schools will not be reopening right now. We're trying to figure out how to regain that 6 to 8 week loss or whichever. So, but know that our office and also AAAE is also here to actually, to support you all the best that we can. One last thing that I want to highlight, which is big news, putting on my Weber hat, is we do have some legislation called ACA 5 dealing with overturning Prop 209. So we hope that you guys can look into that and try to move forward and also support. But also we have AB 3121, which is getting reparations for us as people here in the state of California, for us African Americans and and other minorities, but primarily focused on African Americans, which is being pushed through the Legislative Black Caucus. So there are some big things that are coming out right now, and this disparity through the pandemic is opening up the eyes and showing that these things are highly needed. So thank you so much again for having me. Remember ACA 5, AB 3121, but also you guys are supposed to be supported from these school districts. If you have questions and or concerns, feel free to contact AAAE at San Diego, AAAE@gmail.com, or you can contact Assembly Member Weber's office. I'm the one answering the phone.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Last but definitely not least, we have Michelle Rutledge.
Well, thank you to everyone that put this together. And then, like I said, it's just an honor to be here. So I did put a lot of resources in the chat function. I don't know if everyone is able to see that, but it's just a few resources that I know have gotten people through so far and that can get you through during this time, help with coping even when this is all through. If you want any specific resources as it pertains to mental health, wellness, your family, my email is Speshelle, so SPSHELLER @jfssd.org. Again, it's Speshelle, it's pretty much Spesheller @jfssd.org. Any resources, any questions, I'm available.
Outstanding. Well, look, with no further more, again, I want to thank Assembly Member Todd Gloria, Matthew Gordon, Reginald Jones, Marquise Jackson. I want to thank the 4th District Councilwoman Monica Montgomery, Lachey Collins, and also Michelle Rutledge. And I also wanted to give a shout out to the Young Black in Media team. Cheryl Morrow, DJ Doc, Rock Enterprises, Brian Gooden, and Melvin Grand. And we're going to keep it going. Look out for our Young Black and in STEAM webinar series. That's every Wednesday at 7 o'clock. I also want to let everybody know that Young Black and in Business, we have bi-weekly conference calls at noon. You want to get involved with those because we're giving out financial literacy and how we can all go from brick and mortar to click and order. We have a whole program that we're releasing Friday, June 12th on how to go from brick and mortar to click and order to take advantage of this digital tsunami. I want to let everybody know that next Saturday, we're having a food drive at Mount Erie Baptist Church. That's going to be Saturday at 11 a.m. So reach out and pretty much get excited and stay in tune. And I want to salute again everyone that's on this call. And with no furthermore, we're right on time. But look, remember, if it is to be, it is up to us. So we'll stay connected and we'll talk to everybody soon. Thank you again.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Be safe.
Thank you.